Does it say we're live?
Yeah.
Got it. Awesome sauce. All right. Hey, everybody.
Hi, friends. Dr. Sherry and Aaron Harrigan here with another episode of the Proverbial Masterminds. Why? Because we are pseudo masterminds. We are just two daughters of the king, minding the master's wisdom and coming on here to discuss it live with you, unrehearsed. Just going through God's truth. We've been going through the book of Proverbs, verse by verse, day by day since, oh my gosh, it's been over a year since November 1st.
Oh my gosh.
Happy year anniversary.
Happy year anniversary, friend.
Thank you. We didn't realize that last time because we pre-recorded last week.
That's right. That's right. Oh my gosh.
Yes, we've been doing this since November 1st of 2020. Incredible. And we've made it all the way to Proverbs chapter 14. So Aaron and I laugh that at this rate, of a verse a day, we will finish the book of Proverbs and all of our expository discussions on it in 2023. So
yes, we will. Yes, we will. But it will be so worth it to go through this with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all coming together. I feel like I'm totally aging myself here, and they say you're not supposed to do that, but I think it's kind of fun to age yourself. Like the A-Team, I love it when a plan comes together.
Yes.
Hannibal.
Yes, and yes. Okay, hold on. There we go. Okay. My laptop is doing weird things to me. So give me a minute.
Okay.
Hold on.
You got a minute.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Why can I not hear you? What is happening?
You could hear me a second ago.
Okay. We're going rogue. We're going rogue, I tell you.
Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. Yes. Okay. Listen, here's the thing. This is why Proverbs and God's wisdom is more important than man's wisdom. Yeah. Because you get the things that you think are all going to work, and then they mess you up, and you're like, see?
Detour.
Got to listen to the Lord. Anyway.
Well, I just saw a reel, and she said, by the way, it's either, how did she say it? She was, pointing towards, by the way, it's either of the Lord or the devil.
I mean,
there's no in between.
Boom, boom.
Right. Right. And it was like, whoa.
You say you want this.
Ooh. I know. Right. No, it's like really good. Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, friends, we are finishing up chapter 13 and launching into chapter 14. So we're reading this past week, we did read chapter 13, verse 25 through chapter 14, verse 6.
Correct.
Do you want to read that, or would you like me to, Aaron?
I'll read. I'm actually so I have my New King James open, but I'm going to read it from the Passion Translation.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So starting in 13, verse 25, the lovers of God will have more than enough, but the wicked will always lack what they crave. 14, every wise woman encourages and builds up her family, but a foolish woman over time will tear it down by her own actions. Lovers of truth, right? Lovers of God, lovers of truth, follow the right path because of their wonderment. Ooh, that's a nice word. And worship of God, but the devious display their disdain for him. The words of a proud fool will all come back to haunt him, but the words of the wise will become a shield of protection around them. The only clean stable is an empty stable. So if you want the work of an ox and to enjoy an abundant harvest, you'll have a mess or two to clean up.
That's good.
An honest witness will never lie, but a deceitful witness lies with every breath. And then 14:6, the intellectually arrogant seek for wisdom, but they never seem to discover what they claim they're looking for. For revelation knowledge flows to the one who hungers for understanding. Ooh.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think of that. Do you know that worship song, To Know and Follow Hard After You? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
To go as your disciple in the truth. This world is empty, pale, and
Yes.
What is it? And this world is empty, pale, and poor compared to knowing you, my Lord. So lead me on and let me run after you. Yeah. So all of these verses, Solomon has done an excellent job of, hammering home these truths.
Yes.
About the difference between God's wisdom and a fool's wisdom, the difference between wisdom that comes from man, which is the selfish, the selfish side of us that would listen to the devil whispering what we need and what we don't need, right? Versus what we listening for the voice of wisdom. And I'll recall, you'll have to remind me, Aaron. I recall a while back when it may have been very early on, so maybe in chapter 3 or 4, I'm not sure, where we talked about how wisdom was quoted. And we talked about how wisdom was Christ. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Where was that?
I know. I'm just looking that up right now. The value of wisdom. Oh, it's actually hold on, let me make sure this is it. Well, in Proverbs 1, starting in 21, it says, she cries out in the chief concourses and at the openings of the gates in the city, and she speaks her words, and then she speaks. But I'm not sure that was.
No, that's not it. Well, anyway, hang on a second. Let's find this. This is worth, because I seem to recall we were like, okay, we figured out, what wisdom is, that it's right, but suddenly wisdom is quoted. Let's see.
And we said, I'm just looking back at my notes, that the Lord, that it was Jesus.
Yeah. Well, which makes sense, right? So
right.
Jesus is the creator of the world. He holds all of it together. He is the wisdom. But so I was thinking, I really liked that translation for these verses. I liked the wonderment, and the lovers of truth, the lovers of Jesus, the followers. Because when you love something, love is an action, not a feeling. So you engage with the thing that you say you love.
Right.
Anyway, I was looking at let's see. So just all of this, verse 4 in my version, not my version, but one of the versions I have in front of me, the New Living Translation says, without oxen, a stable stays clean, but you need a strong ox for a large harvest. And I thought about how when I read that word harvest, I thought about when Jesus was speaking to his disciples and he was looking at the crowd of people and he was overcome with compassion for them and said, the harvest is ripe, but the laborers are few.
That's right.
And let's go to that really quick. So Matthew, that's in Matthew, I think. Yeah. So chapter 9, verses 35 through 38. I'll read that if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Jesus traveled through all the towns and villages of that area, teaching in the synagogues and announcing the good news about the kingdom. And he healed every kind of disease and illness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were confused and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. He said to his disciples, the harvest is great, but the workers are few. So pray to the Lord who is in charge of the harvest. Ask him to send more workers into his fields. It is really easy for us to stay in our own space, to not go out and be someone who is a potential beacon of light, of the Lord's light, right? Not our own. We talked about that a couple of times ago. Somebody who needs to see that, somebody who's just waiting to see that. That's part of our responsibility. It's and things get messy when we do that.
Yes.
because people despise us. Especially, it used to be kind of PC. You could say God, but no, that's out. Right. So you got to say the universe. Well, I don't have to say,
I don't either.
You get the point of what I'm saying. So now it's like, if you say Jesus, it's like a 4-letter word, right? That people get really offended. So things get messy.
Yeah.
When you share the truth, but this reminded me. So not just that verse without oxen, a stable stays clean, but you need a strong ox for a large harvest. We also talked before, Aaron, about how the harvest is work, and how so many of us were just like, oh gosh, we're doing all this work, planting and watering, and we just want to get to the harvest.
When's it coming? Right. Yeah.
FYI, the harvest is work.
Yes.
It is not a period of sitting back on your laurels, right? Like, I'm learning that, like, anything that you sow, you reap, but reaping is work too. It's not, it doesn't just fall in your lap.
It's all work. Yeah. And I think that there's two things that come up for me when you say that. Number one is accepting that, right? And being grateful for, I was talking about this on my, my Hustle with Heart course the other day, that like he gives us the work, right? So being grateful that he's given us the work. But then I think the second thing is, when you can accept it and be grateful, it's still work, but the feeling that you have toward it, the intention and the thought that you have around it is vastly different.
Yes.
Like it is work. You have a podcast. I have a podcast. We do this show, among other things that we do.
Right.
It is work to do that. But like, I just spent 2 days working on my December episodes, and guess what? They're done. So I'm like, well, that wasn't so bad, because I'm not under the gun, because I'm not coming from it like, oh my gosh, I got to get it done. Right. And so I think it really comes back to that there is going to be work, and you could have a clean stall.
Yeah.
But what are the oxen doing?
Right. And remembering what we talked about, I remind myself of this frequently. When my mind goes to the temporal, when my mind goes to the things that I think I need, reminding myself to not pursue those things. Like, yeah, we need money to function in society. That's what our world operates on, right? But God is greater than money. Yeah. And if we're pursuing him, he provides everything we need. And so, but it is tricky when you're in the world. Yes. And the world, and the world reminds you. So in these verses of Proverbs, we're talking about foolish messages. We're talking about following the noise that makes sense in the moment, right? But really is folly, really is foolishness. And so when I thought about, us being in the harvest, we have an obligation in what we say. I did a reel the other day that said, I don't always talk about God, but when I do, look out, something like that, right? Like, this is where my confidence comes from. I don't always tell you, but this is where it comes from. Right. Yes. And we have an obligation, to ensure that whatever we are doing, in whatever capacity we're doing it, that the way that we're doing it is aligned with God's truth and God's wisdom. Yes. I mean, that's what you coach people to do, pursue success God's way. So, right. And here's why that's so important. Why it's not as simple as you're in your own little corner of the world, and it doesn't really matter what you do or say. So if we fast forward to where, John, the book of John, the Gospel of John. Chapter 10. Jesus is the good shepherd. And I thought about,
I know my sheep and am known by my own.
Right. Yeah. So this is about wisdom, right? So is it okay if I read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I tell you the truth. Anyone who sneaks over the wall of a sheepfold rather than going through the gate must surely be a thief and robber, but the one who enters through the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep recognize his voice and come to him. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. And he has gathered his own flock. He walks ahead of them, and they follow him because they know his voice. They won't follow a stranger. They will run from him because they don't know his voice. So all of this stuff that Solomon's talking about, wisdom is the voice of Jesus.
Yes.
Wisdom is crying out in the streets. And that is the voice that we have an obligation to follow and be a mouthpiece for.
Yes. Yes. Be his hands and feet. Be how people experience Jesus in today's world.
And be the truth of that.
Yes.
And not, when I say be the truth of that, I don't mean like go, looking to stir the pot and tell people they're wrong. No.
Right.
I mean, speaking the truth, whatever your message is, making sure that it aligns with God's wisdom. And when we do that, we are workers in the harvest.
That's right. That's right. And going back to what we said earlier with Jesus being God's wisdom, it's in 8, the excellence of wisdom.
Where in Proverbs 8?
Proverbs 8. Because it says,
oh yeah.
Where am I? That he is God's wisdom. He is the incarnation of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so therefore,
I love all who love me. Those who search will surely find me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. There it is. Verse 22.
Yeah.
The Lord formed me from the beginning before he created anything else.
Yes.
Yeah.
From the beginning, before there was ever an earth.
Right.
Like I was beside him as master craftsman. That's in 30. So yeah. So it's the seeking and the desire and to be aligned in that. And in Proverbs 13, going back to 13:25, it says the lovers of God will have more than enough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what happens is, as I was working on my December podcasts, I'm bringing some archived episodes back.
Oh, fun.
And one of them is, it's not the package, it's the giver. And so in other words, this lovers of God will have more than enough. Well, what does it mean to have more than enough? Right? Because it could be very easy to be in this world thinking, well, I need to be a millionaire. Right? Well, okay. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. And is that the means to the end of what God's given you to do? Like he is always providing. He is faithful to provide. So,
but if you need $1 million,
God will do it.
Do what God has set before you to do. He will do it without you ever having to think about it or pursue
exactly. 100%.
I clearly don't need $1 million, at least not yet.
Right. Right. So we will have more than enough. But then the second part of this says the wicked will always lack what they crave. So not only are they craving it, they lack it.
They won't have it.
They won't have it.
Mm-mm.
Right.
It reminds me of a conversation I had just, speaking of money, and I have a client who's a financial investor. And we talked about this, kind of odd psychology of money that when you don't have a lot, you tend to give more away. And when you have a lot, you tend to keep a lot because you fear losing it.
Right.
So that is an exemplification of that second part. Whatever they crave, they will never have because they crave abundance, but yet they have scarcity.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, again, like so much wisdom in this. I love it. it.
So I think, again, it's just clear. Like it keeps getting clear to me. The voice of wisdom, for those people who know Jesus, you will know the voice of wisdom. You will know that this is, of the Lord or it's not for you. For those that don't know the Lord, the Holy Spirit speaks to everybody. So if you want to know, if something is God's wisdom or not, God says, ask me.
Yes.
And I'll give that to you. I'll be generous to give it to you. Ask me for wisdom and I'll give it to you. And he will start to show you. So this wisdom is available to all.
Yeah. Yeah.
The wisdom that prospers the long life, the wisdom that protects you, keeps you safe, the wisdom that keeps you honest, the wisdom that gives you abundance and gives you what you need to eat to your heart's content. All of it. Yeah.
All of it. Yes. So much so. So good. So good.
I don't have anything else on that today, Erin.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't. I mean, I feel like it's going to be messy sometimes and it's going to be hard work and it's not going to be easy, but that's the point, right? Because please hear me. There are moments where you'll be working and doing life and it like everything seems to be flowing, right? And like I am in the center of God's will. And will be times that what he asks us to do is so big and so daunting and so scary that it's not easy because we're not supposed to do it on our own. We're supposed to glean this wisdom and lean into him. And by the way, not just take the wisdom and run. Go on, take the money and run. That was Steve Miller, right?
Yeah.
Look, showing my age. My point is, we're not supposed to just take the wisdom and run. We're supposed to take the wisdom and in knowing this, we lean closer in. We lean closer in and we're constantly protected and provided for and have.
Well, and the more, and if we can think beyond ourselves and think about, pursuing that which is eternal and enlarging the kingdom of God, beyond the benefits available to us through the pursuit of wisdom, the more we pursue wisdom, the more we can share that with others and be a part of that harvest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
And fill somebody who's hungry and waiting for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because isn't that exactly what we want to do? And isn't that how we help people experience Jesus wherever they are? So that's a beautiful thing, friend. Okay. So next week
we're doing Proverbs chapter 14, verses 7 through 13.
7 through 13. So stick with us. And in fact, I'm excited about that because in my Charles Stanley Life Principles Bible, he has answers to life's questions. And one of them is, where can I look for good advice? Which is going to be a good one. So looking forward to that convo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, friends. We'll see you back here 2:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time live on YouTube. If you have not yet done so, please subscribe and share with a friend.
Yes. And leave us your comments because we want to